I'm Paul.
I'm Hugh.
Welcome to the Week in Westworld.
So, this week...
Flashbacks.
And we were missing a few characters. Not much Maeve, not much Bernard.
No, true, but some Arnold.
Yes, and that's the very first flashback. So, our first flashback, we see Arnold with Dolores in a mysterious city, which I think is the first time we've been outside of Westworld, in Westworld. Right?
Yeah, certainly this is the first time that Dolores has been outside of Westworld.
True, yeah. So
looking very nice in a sort of black cocktail dress.
Yeah, it's
LBD.
quite cool. Yeah, and basically it kind of starts to hint stuff that was sort of touched on in last week's episode about where Westworld is. It seems like it's on some sort of island, maybe in Asia. I don't know. And
you spotted Asian landmarks or buildings,
so. Yeah,
building
I think so.
styles?
I mean, I might be wrong. Who knows? But it's certainly an interesting, quite high-tech modern city.
I certainly noticed in that scene that there was some very Blade Runner-esque synth music, which kind of like added to that feel.
So maybe it's 2019 style LA. Who knows?
Yeah, there were no flying cars, sadly, but we only saw a glimpse, so who knows?
Yeah. So basically, it seems like Westworld's on an island quite near the mainland, and this city is where a lot of the people who work at Westworld actually live. And in this same city, around the same time, we get another flashback to Logan. Logan's back. Ben Barnes, who's in series 1.
You're not going to say Prince Caspian?
Prince Caspian.
You normally say that.
I do, Prince Caspian. And we see him before the events of series 1, so he's getting his sales pitch. It's quite a cool sequence, isn't it?
It's very cool, even though we know what's going to happen. I think even the fact that we know what's going to happen sort of even makes it better, because we're sort of from the point of view of the hosts as opposed to him. So he's being shut. He doesn't think that AI or realistic robot people look anything like we know they do.
Yeah.
And so he's taken into this room. They tell him to start with, pick out pick out the host, or pick out the artificial person. And he slowly realizes this is a completely private demonstration, and every single person, including the 2 people that took him there in the first place, are themselves hosts.
Yeah,
and he is pretty blown away, as you would be.
We have a bit of a clue at this, because obviously we know that Tallulah Riley plays a host called Angela, I think. So we kind of know that, and that's another one of those fun things where they can play different roles in different timelines, because at the minute she's all very shooty. Yeah,
and I actually thought though that the guy she was with was originally a person, a human. You knew that he wasn't, because you had remembered quite cleverly that he features in the trailer.
Yeah, there's someone cleverer than I am actually had spotted that in the trailer.
Possible.
It's hard though it is to believe. Someone clever than I am spotted a shot of him in this scene in the cocktail party, and then another shot of him in sort of more traditional Native American Ghost Nation garb. So it seems that he's similarly acting in roles in and out of the park.
So all of you probably spotted that anyway. The clues were there.
So sorry guys. Yeah. But it wasn't the only flashback this week. We also then had
far from it
a little jump forward. So this Logan and Arnold Dolores one was set pre-series 1, and then we jump past series 1 to William kind of trying to convince James Delos, played by new star Peter Mullen, to invest more in Westworld, because they've invested a bit after that first demonstration. But after the events of series 1, William wants more stuff, and so we finally get to meet Mr. Delos himself.
He's Scottish.
He's Scottish. We're just going to not examine why none of his kids are.
Why not? I don't know. Delos is not a name I've heard before.
No, but maybe it's a traditional Scottish name. So we sort of meet him, don't we? And he's not convinced, but William makes a very timely sales pitch.
Indeed, yes, very topical.
Yeah, which is, if you want to explain it.
Well, he's saying that basically the kind of USP from Westworld could actually be data gathering, basically. That when you get guests coming into this incredible place, thinking that no one's watching and they can do whatever they want, then you find out a hell of a lot about those people, what their desires are, possibly what their shopping habits might be. Thank you for that. And so on. So yeah, it's kind of it's a data gathering project, and Mr. Delos seems to be pretty taken with that.
Yeah, it's interesting, because I think you actually said this in our very first episode a couple of weeks ago.
I did suggest that this could happen. Yeah.
And I thought it was a bit mad, because I wasn't really sure why Delos would want, this is the kind of 6-shooter that he wants to buy. But clearly, I'm not thinking big picture.
It makes it seem quite mundane, I know, but I think it's a good call. I think that's where it would go. It's quite cynical and correct.
And this series was being made so long ago, it's hilarious that it's actually tied in so closely to the news. But that's the mark of good sci-fi, I think, that it kind of
predicts it
even
slightly in the future.
And also it kind of makes sense to why Charlotte so desperately wants to get that information out of the park, as we've seen in the first episode, because presumably it's the same stuff. And maybe you're thinking, oh wow, look at those flashbacks. I'm glad there are no more flashbacks. There are more flashbacks in this episode. What was the next one? The next one, we jump ahead a little bit again, and we're at a fancy party. There's not too much to. A lot of fancy parties. There's not too much to say about this flashback.
It sort of shows us, it's kind of supposed to be the transition between William and the Man in Black, isn't it? So
a little bit, yeah. We see him going a bit more nasty, and we see Logan meets Dolores again, and Logan's getting all drugged up.
Yeah.
Which isn't.
I just love the idea that you can make Jimmy Simpson be a little bit growly and put some facial hair on him, and someone would believe that soon that will become Ed Harris. I feel like they should have cast a third person who is somewhere between Jimmy Simpson and Ed Harris.
Maybe such an actor does not exist.
If you know anyone who fits that bill, please do write in,
email
in,
call,
whatever.
Answers on a postcard.
We want to see those photos because that would be fantastic. Or just maybe there's a computer thing you can do. You lot are clever. Morph the two together.
And then also we get another mini flash forward, which is kind of just after the party, I think, where William talks to Dolores and he's not being very nice. He's saying, "You're just a thing. I can't believe I fell in love with you. The only use you are is making me realise how cool I am." And then he basically takes her, and it turns out they're back in Westworld, and he takes her outside to show her something. And at first we thought it was like a bridge or something, but it looks like it's some sort of digging equipment, like he's making something in Westworld himself.
Again, seems a little mundane.
Yeah.
But no, it won't be, because...
Well, we find out later in the episode, but we'll get to that because we have a couple of other things to talk about first. So now let's check in with our favourite holiday rep turned robotic cult leader, Dolores. So last week we saw her kind of on a mission, taking down other hosts, weirdly, although that was in the flash forward, wasn't it? And also just kind of being a bit murdery.
So confusing.
Yeah, but this week she takes her crew underground and they meet some of the blissfully ignorant Westworld workers who thought it was just a normal Thursday. And sadly, it's not. And yeah, Teddy finally...
Far from it.
Yeah, basically she shows Teddy all his deaths, which is kind of a thing to confront.
Yeah. He's a bit blown away by that, as you would be.
Yeah. Especially because he's had such a grim time of it. It's sort of almost a gag.
It's
how
like
much
it's
Teddy
not
gets
like
beaten up.
here's a string of your past lives and a load of the parties you went to and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just like here's you dead several times over.
Yeah, in several slightly embarrassing and humiliating ways. So Teddy doesn't take that too well.
Poor Teddy, basically.
So maybe all that stuff we worried about last week with Teddy v Dolores isn't going to happen. I don't know. He seemed a bit more on side this time. But then they go and recruit some people, don't they?
Yes, the Confederados.
Indeedy doody.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see, isn't it? A group of hosts who presumably, they've now not following a story, I guess. They've got free will or they've got sentience, but they kind of just, they're not aware that they've got sentience, if that makes sense. So they're sitting around eating, basically.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I hadn't thought of that. They don't need
to
eat, presumably.
Well, yeah, but also they're just having a great time, but without any real focus. And it's interesting that you've got some hosts who have really awakened in a way and they've now got a mission, and others who are just like continuing to act out their characters, I guess.
Yeah, although they do have this sort of weird subconscious desire to head to a place called Glory,
That's true.
They? Which Dolores claims to know where it is, and it's also the Valley Beyond, which a few other people have talked about. And it's kind of looking
That's true.
It's kind of looking like this might be the sort of, I don't know, the big thing this series, the kind of big MacGuffin. Maybe the thing that we sort of saw William building in those flashbacks. I don't know. I mean, that's sort of hinted at later in the episode, isn't it?
Yeah,
so it seems like that's what they're all headed towards, but it's a bit unclear what it is, at least until later on.
But anyway, there's a sort of, Dolores gives a demonstration kind of her power, doesn't she? She gives them a chance to join her, and they refuse, and they all get quick fire shot. And then she brings back the leader using her iPad guy. Other tablets are available.
A Mac genius.
Yeah. He's looking pretty scared, that guy in the corner, isn't he? But he's a useful person to have around. They really need to learn to work those iPads themselves.
Yeah, totally.
I bet Maeve knows how to work them.
Maeve definitely knows how to work an iPad. Speaking of which, we only briefly see Maeve this week, but it's when she runs into Dolores. She's there with Hector and Lee Sizemore in a hilarious, embarrassing little cowboy outfit. and they kind of have a bit of a clash, a meeting of minds.
It sort of reminds me a little bit of that, you know, in Shaun of the Dead, where the two groups of people who are both fighting zombies kind of like come across each other, just kind of go hi and like walk past each other. It's a little bit like that.
Yeah.
But that it does throw up the idea that as much as Dolores has got something into her head and she's following it, Maeve is the smarter one here, and Dolores, as I've said before, kind of seems like she's following another story almost, whereas Maeve really is the one where you feel she's got free will and she's got something clever. I mean, whether she has or not, we don't know. But you know, she's the smarter one.
Definitely.
I think of them all.
And I kind of like the way she just sort of throws off Dolores's recruitment drive
with something much cleverer, but I forget what it was. But it was a sort of good throwaway. Sort of. It's about if you're for liberty, then you'll be wanting to let us go.
Basically,
on our way. So
it'll be interesting. Hopefully,
logic. She'll use logic.
Hopefully, we'll see those two butt heads again at some point in the future.
Don't call them that. So last but not least, the Man in Black. Where do we find him next? Well, he's still out enjoying his near-death experiences, isn't he?
Yep, he's laughing away.
Yeah, he goes off to find his old friend Lawrence, who is being hung upside down over an ant's nest, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he gets him down, and he takes care of most of the people who were attacking him. But one of them, maybe because he no longer has the piece of code that tells them they're supposed to be dead, isn't.
Yeah, he sort of shoots a guy, and the guy gets back up again, and he kills him eventually. But he basically says to Lawrence, "Dead isn't what it used to mean," which is kind of interesting because it suggests that even if the hosts get shot, I mean, they're robots; they might be able to survive those illnesses. I mean, we talked last week about Bernard getting shot in the head and walking around afterwards.
That isn't what it used to mean for the host, and it isn't what it used to mean for the humans either.
Yeah, it's true, because you
can be it now.
Like, we saw Arnold, and you know, he could be that.
But yeah, he's laughing his head off basically because he's having such a great time.
Yeah, but he does have a mission. So he is. Earlier in the episode, in the flashbacks, we sort of learned a little bit about what the park's actually about, and he kind of alludes to this a bit. He says it's not about judgment, you know, we had something else in mind, but I'm going to burn it to the ground, this sort of thing. And then he and Lawrence go off to kind of track down what he calls his greatest mistake, which is interesting. And in the course of that, he's
trying to mine people's data.
Yes, I guess, or maybe it's something. It sort of seems like it's something he made, which we sort of also maybe saw in the flashback when he was showing Dolores the thing he was building.
Yeah.
And then in the
sort of bridgey
the bridge thing
or wheels, like what is it? What is it?
I don't know. It's very weird. And in the course of that, he ends up going to recruit not Confederados, some bandits who are led banditos who are led by El Lazo, who Lawrence was in the past.
Yeah.
But they've recast.
But
they've recast with a special guest star.
Who is it?
It's Giancarlo Esposito.
Gus Fring from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, and so this was a bit of a secret before the series came out, so we're not really sure whether he's in it again or whether it's literally he's just a one-hit wonder, because, spoiler alert, if you've watching this, you've seen the episode, but I hope
we should have said the spoiler right at the start of this.
It's all been spoilers thus far. So basically, Man in Black asks them to help him, and they all decide to shoot themselves in the head anyway. So basically, it's because Ford has told them not to help him.
I'd rather shoot myself in the head than help you.
Yeah, I mean, that's a kind of time to re-examine your life choices.
Yeah,
isn't it?
but it does make you think, well, how much at jeopardy is the Man in Black? Because he's obviously playing this game, and Ford wants him to continue this game.
That's a good point.
And he's being captured by more bandits than even he could shoot down.
Yeah.
And that's how he gets out, because Ford's programmed them to off themselves.
Basically, yeah. I mean, Ford doesn't let him cheat the system and get more helpers, but equally he presumably, if he's able to do that from beyond the grave, he's probably also able to push him along in the right way.
Yeah, it feels as if he wants him to get where he's going.
Yeah, and where he is going might be glory, or it might be the valley beyond. It seems like, and this is sort of pulling towards the end of the episode, we go back in with Dolores, and she sort of says, the thing the Confederados are looking for, and the thing all the other hosts are looking for, glory or the valley beyond, the promised land, whatever you call it, I know what it is. And she knows what she's going to find there. And she says that's because an old friend was foolish enough to show me.
It's not a place.
It's a weapon.
It's a weapon.
Yeah, and so it's interesting because we've seen it as a place that William built. But if it's a weapon, I mean, what kind of weapon is there? What kind of weapon does a host conceive of?
Is it something that's going to unite the hosts, bring all those ones who aren't really sure what's going on into her way of thinking? Does it relate to that network that Bernard talked about?
Is it a big EMP that she could just use to get rid of rebellious hosts? Or, hear me out, big laser.
But, well, that's the ultimate weapon.
Big laser. I think it would be great if after all this talk of like, could it be God? What does it mean? It was just a big laser.
Is it inside us, the weapon?
And it's a laser.
It's a giant laser cannon.
Inside every host chest. So then at the end of the series is just them lasering away all the Hemsworths.
Hope that's not a spoiler.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, if we guess
if that ends up happening at the end of the season, we can only apologise, but maybe it's not us who should be apologising.
I think that's fair to say. And on that ironclad, surefire prediction, I think we should probably call it a day. So thanks for watching this week's episode. Until we enter analysis mode, you can check out all our other Westworld content on radiotimes.com and other news and entertainment content. And we'll see you next week in the Valley Beyond.
See you then.